Greta Doug. I think it's too hard to get Dems to push populist issues when they're getting their campaign cash from the same donors as the Republicans. This is what the Republicans know. Well, I mean, this is why, the issue of Cuomo, and we should say that, Cuomo put in the budget and really dragged his feet in fighting for this. If anything, held back the assembly from pushing this. Publicly financed campaigns. They came up with a so-called compromise where it would just be one office, the comptroller of New York, a guy named Bill Napoli, who had been pushing for campaign finance reform of this time or publicly financed campaigns of a similar ilk for years. They only instituted it for a 1 year, a 1 year program with just his office, with funds that would come from his office's selling off of essentially publicly owned property. In other words, property that had been unclaimed by people. So he would be in a position of conflict of interest in using money that he is mandated to disperse and find the owners of this property and money. People die, there's money in their bank account, it's his job to find members of his estate, et cetera, et cetera. And so he basically said, I'm going to opt out because this is bullshit. And that's why I think, there's so many people up in arms in New York State, because publicly financed campaigns is at least one mechanism. I don't think it's a silver bullet, but to diminish the influence of money in politics.
That's had a significant effect in Connecticut to the extent that they've done it in other places. I mean, I remember, I think last spring had on Heather McGee, and that was the big point she was making, that clean elections are not some nice highfalutin government reform project. It's elemental to seriously dealing with income inequality and other core issues.
Yep. Dems have the problems of having to exist between these competing interests since union funding is in the dumper. You get the paradox, I'm sure. Recent SCOTUS decisions are designed to ensure this condition continues, which makes that publicly financed campaign so much more important. Magic Cue Ball, you keep mentioning Andrew Cuomo. I'm from New York, and what bugs me the most about Andrew Cuomo is that he gets away with being a centrist, at times right of center, because his progressive father, Mario. Put aside the moment the general pushing of the Democratic Party to the right. When age 50-plus New Yorkers statewide see Andrew Cuomo, i.e. people who actually vote, I believe they envision Mario making his 84 Democratic National Convention speech in the back of their minds. Then what bugs me secondly is when I think, what did the senior Cuomo teach this kid?
Well, I mean, Andrew Cuomo has his own political trajectory. I mean, in fact, some of the things that people have not liked about Mario Cuomo, like some of the potentially homophobic campaign stuff in the early 80s, late 70s. Some people say Andrew might have been involved in that type of thing. And then the other thing is, don't you think that some of it might have to do with the fact that particularly when he first got in, you came off of Spitzer resigning, then Patterson had a really, really tough time. There was just the perception of incompetence and inability to do things. And he sold himself in the beginning and appeared to basically just manage things a lot more effectively. And I think that there's some dividends from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it, and I think part of it on some levels is people are just not paying attention.
And when they do, they see marriage equality and gun control, which he's done good stuff on. Yeah.